Now, continuing with the homes that sold, the lowest price sale was also the fastest sale to move. That was La Pintura in the Mirlands, which closed for $1.7 million. It went pending in just 33 days. The home was originally listed at just around $2.4 million, and then they did one sharp reduction to just under $2 million. And then the property ended up selling roughly 29% below, again at $1.7 million. So this was not a traditional move-in ready value story, okay? The property rests on nearly an acre with potential to add a second story to capture ocean views. And actually, if you drive by the property, you can see that it appears to be heavily gutted. So it's safe to conclude the buyer was actually purchasing the land, the street, and the upside of that particular neighborhood. On the other end, the highest price sale was Copa de Oro in La Jolla Mesa, which closed for $5.85 million. According to the MLS, it was a recently completed 2025 build with panoramic views of the ocean, the bay, all the way down to Coronado and downtown. But even with that type of product, it still took 332 days to go pending from the original list date, so almost a year. And that property went through 3 different agents before selling as well. It initially started at $7.5 million, and the buyer did not even respond until it was listed just under $6 million with the third agent, and then it sold 22% below the original list price. So what does that show us? That shows us that even a good product like that, a great product, still has to meet the market. A few other properties stood out. The longest sold timeline, meaning the longest to go pending under contract, was a property in Bird Rock, which sold for just over $2 million. It took 336 days to go pending from the original active date. After 5 reductions, it ended up selling about 22% below its original list price of nearly $2.6 million. Another sold property in the Beach Barber tract stood out because they made 8 separate incremental reductions, which was the most reductions out of all 15 sold properties. So the takeaway isn't necessarily how much it ended up selling below list price, original list price, which was 10%. It was how many steps and how long it took to get there, because again, they had to make 8 reductions. So the timeline was 220 days to go pending under contract. So about 7 months, right? So time is money. So if you're actually making less cuts that are larger rather than small incremental ones, it'll be way more effective. And the largest discount among the sold properties was for a home in Upper Hermosa, which ended up closing roughly 31% below its original list price. Starting at $5.695 million, it sold for $3.95 million. That property took 218 days to go pending under contract, so also about 7 months. So the pattern is not linear for all these properties, right? But what we can see is that when the sellers started too high, the market ultimately forced a correction.